Are you ready to offer advisory services to clients? In today's podcast episode, I'm going to help you decide. So let's just get straight to it. Hey, and welcome to the Ambitious Bookkeeper Podcast. I'm Serena Shoup. I am a CPA and mom of 3, and I'm running a virtual bookkeeping business mostly from my home. You're in the right place if you're a bookkeeper, accountant, or an accounting student, and you know that your purpose is bigger than sitting in a cubicle. If you're ready to learn some actionable tips and strategies to help you start and grow a bookkeeping or accounting business, I hope you stick around. Advisory is a hot topic in our industry, and honestly, it has been for the past, since I started my business nearly 6 or 7 years ago. And it's almost like the conversations literally have not changed. The saying goes like bookkeeping is a commodity. You have to add value to your clients. You need to get into advisory. But like, how do you know if you're actually ready to start tapping into advisory? If it's even the right fit for you and your business, or if you even have the skills. So I wanted to talk about that in today's episode to help you figure out if you know you're ready and where to go to start building the skills. So I would say ask yourself a few questions to figure out if you're ready to start offering advisory. Number 1, are your clients asking for more detailed information about what their numbers mean? Are your clients asking you for more? Like, are they asking you to go deeper with them? Number 2, are your clients growing and you see a need for better guidance and decision-making around their growth to help them maximize the money that they're bringing in, helping them make better decisions? Like, are you seeing areas where they can improve in their numbers? Number 3, are you bored with the transactional work and want to make a bigger impact for your clients? That's a big one. That's a big question to ask yourself, because if you're satisfied with where things are at in your business and it's working and you're making the money that you want to make and you're happy, then maybe it's not the right move for you to chase this advisory services path, which I may be shooting myself in the foot here since I help people with this. But honestly, like, it's not the right fit for everybody. And there are absolutely days where I'm like, do I even want to do all of this for clients? Like, I kind of wish I could just log into QuickBooks or Xero, process everything, and log out and be done. So there's that. And then number 4, do you feel like you're capped at what you're charging and you don't want to increase prices without offering more value? Now, this is a really important one because you might answer yes to the first part of that question. Do you feel that you're capped at what you're charging? That could be a yes for lots of people. But the other part of the question is, and you don't want to increase prices without offering more value. There is a lot of advice out there talking about just raise your prices and increase your prices and but you really should not increase your prices unless you are offering more value. Now, I will caveat this that I've definitely worked with some bookkeepers who are way undercharging for even what they're doing and should just raise their prices, but it still requires a value conversation with the client, explaining and showing them the value that you are already providing. So in that case, you're already providing more value and you need to raise your prices. That's a kind of different conversation. But if you are literally not going to change anything about the way that you're delivering services and you truly are capped at what you're charging, I don't think it's the right move to just raise your prices 100 to 200% without at least presenting a slight additional value to the client. So I think that is an important conversation to have. And I think I actually talked about this in the masterclass that I did a while back with Alyssa, and it is a bonus episode. So if you scroll back in your podcast player for episodes that say bonus in brackets, you should find the How to Package and Sell Advisory Services masterclass. And we dive into that whole conversation there. So if you answered yes to any or all of the questions that I just talked about, then you may be ready to start offering advisory. And honestly, there's lots of different ways to offer advisory. There's lots of different things you could be doing, but I think step one in becoming an advisor is just being able to talk about the numbers and what they mean to your clients. It's just strictly analyzing and presenting the information in a way that they can understand it. And that is why I created my newer signature program called Elevate. I was at a Workflow Queen retreat teaching on a couple of topics that maybe are a little more advanced, but when we had kind of broken apart into groups and some people had gone into a different room to work through certain things, and I was in one room with a few people, I kind of just got on this tangent and in this path where people were asking me like, well, how do you present your financials to clients and what do you do? And so I started showing them the way that we summarize financial statements for clients and talk about them in something called a 5-minute financial overview video. This is something that we actually do in our meetings, but we also provide as a video if clients aren't meeting with us. So they're still getting the information that they would have gotten from a meeting. There's just not the back and forth questions that can happen. So I would say this is a really good place to start, and in providing just short little overview video for your clients. So I was showing this to the ladies in the room, and towards the end of the retreat, based on the things that I was teaching in this room, a few people were like, why are you just teaching like people getting started with their bookkeeping businesses? And I was like, well, I'm not. I'm actually teaching this in my program. But it turns out like a lot of people that have gone through my program weren't ready for this information. So they hadn't even realized that they had access to it. And so we made the decision to strip it out of the Bookkeeping Business Accelerator and create a new container so that we could help serve more bookkeepers that were actually ready for this, that had opted out of the Bookkeeping Business Accelerator because they had already started their business. They were already pretty seasoned. They were doing the things. They were getting clients. They were pricing decently. And so we were pretty much excluding people from this little section of the program because they didn't think they needed the rest of it. And then the people that were in BBA didn't even realize this information was available to them because they weren't ready for it. So we decided as a company to break the two apart and create two separate programs. So now we have a program called Elevate. We call it a sprint. So we go through it in just 1 month, because that was another thing, is like some of these programs get so dragged out that people drop off, they don't stay engaged, they don't actually get the value that they need out of it because they get busy with life. And so we created a smaller, shorter container, like smaller as in less people as well. So it's capped at 20. At the time of this recording, we've been capping it at 20 people per cohort. It goes for 1 month, for 4 weeks. And each week we meet for 2 hours in a Zoom meeting. So I teach live, so you can stop and ask questions. And then we dive in hands-on. And so you can bring and work on a client alongside of me as we're going through the content and ask specific questions about that client. The reason we designed it this way is because, yes, there are other programs out there teaching this, but not offering the hands-on guidance that you really need in order to really be mentored in these skills and build these skills. So I had the advantage of learning this type of stuff throughout my career in corporate and having a supervisor and a mentor explaining to me, like, this is why the board needs to see it this way. This is what they're going to be looking for. This is what I want to see as the CFO and things like that. So I've compiled all of that knowledge that I have from working in corporate and knowing how businesses run into a program to be able to, as best I can, share that information with you if you don't have that mentor or that guide and didn't learn it hands-on in corporate. So this is the best I can do without you actually working for me and putting it into a program. And so the live component is really the most important part. And we do the live class and we go through things live together on Zoom. We can screen share and you can ask questions. And then what's also included is a group Voxer. So Voxer is like a walkie-talkie app. I made the decision to not run this program with a Facebook group because we all have enough Facebook groups in our lives. And I wanted it to feel like you're intentionally opening that Voxer app to get the support that you need and be immersed in other people asking the questions as well, because it's really helpful to hear other people's questions or issues with clients that you may not have come across yet. But now that you've heard someone else ask the question or have this issue with a client, you're better equipped for when that happens with you and one of your clients. So we have this group Voxer. You can text and you can do voice chats in it and get your questions and support in between the weekly calls. The recordings are housed in a system that I use to host all of my courses called Kajabi. And so you get access to the recordings of the 2-hour trainings for life after the program is over. So you have them to refer back to. The way that we designed this program was very intentional. Like I said, it's over 4 weeks, so you can get what you need out of it pretty quickly instead of letting it drag out and just kind of fizzle out. The core topics that we go over in the program are, in the first week, we cover analyzing financial statements. And at the end of this podcast, I'm actually going to play the first few minutes of that lesson where I talk about why it's important to be able to analyze financial statements and how it is the backbone and the base for being able to provide advisory services. So that is like number one, the most important skill to be able to build if you're going to start advising businesses. And then in week 2, we cover client meetings, how to hold client meetings. And I give you my exact process for the 5-minute financial overviews, which, like I said, are sometimes in Loom and sometimes they're in the actual meetings. And I give you templates for summarized financial statements in an email. So we'll bullet point out for some clients the key points that basically we're covering on the 5-minute financial overviews as well. So we cover that in week 2, and I give you templates and scripts to all of this. And then in week 3, we cover cash flow forecasting, give you a template for that as well. And in week 4, we cover budgeting, forecasting, and advising for growth. And so that one is like the meatiest lesson in the program for sure, because I go very in depth to how to build out a budget, the different scenarios that you're going to need, and how bigger companies use the budgeting process so that you can take that back to your small business and give them the success that bigger companies see. And then we talk about how to advise around those budgeting processes and how to help them increase their profits and increase revenue and grow their business. So that is pretty much a breakdown of the program Elevate that we've been running in a live format over the course of 4 weeks. So we did one in the summertime, and that's the recording that you're going to hear here in a few minutes. That was the summer sprint, and we are running a fall sprint in the month of October. So if you're interested in joining us and starting to build these skills, you're not going to learn this overnight. Even throughout the program, you are going to have to practice lots of things and practice on clients and tweak and grow. It's an ever evolving process, but this will give you the foundations that you need to start offering advisory. So if you're interested in joining that, go to ambitiousbookkeeper.com/elevate, and all the information will be there so that you can make an informed decision. Now, another question that comes up a lot, and I mentioned this at the top of the episode, is, are you going to be teaching how to package and sell these advisory services in that program? And yes, but also I run a masterclass on this. So if you want to watch it live, I will be running that again soon. Don't have a date nailed down at the time of this recording, but I will have a link in the show notes so that you can register for that free masterclass, which is really helpful to help you decide further if this is something that you want to pursue in your business. So I share with you how to package these services and how to sell them. And In the program Elevate, I actually dive even deeper into packaging and creating a structure for offering these services. I know how much you all love structure and love the black and white step by step. So we talk about this inside of Elevate, and I help you formulate the structure that will work for you and how you want to provide these services to clients, because it's not a one size fits all, unfortunately. So yes, there is a free masterclass on how to package and sell these advisory services. You can also scroll back in the podcast and listen to it. You won't have the benefit of the visuals of the slides, but it's a great conversation to listen in on. And I will just say again, what doesn't work in increasing your prices is just slamming 100% increase on clients and expecting you to just have the confidence to be able to sell that service or upsell to the client. And that's why I built the program to teach you the skills. And that's why I'm also not charging extra for the masterclass, because I want you to know how to sell the services first. And then if you already have the skills to be able to offer them, then you're good to go. But if you need to build the skills to have the confidence to increase your prices and offer those services, that's why I have Elevate for you. And I would love to be your mentor inside of Elevate and help you start building the skills to be an advisor to your clients. And the other aspect of that is you might have to change your branding and how you present yourself to clients and how you currently serve clients. So just keep in mind, it's not something that can just happen overnight. You can do various things like building your skills with Elevate in the program and adjusting your branding and tweaking your messaging, but it's not something that's going to happen overnight. So I am going to get off my soapbox now and play the first few minutes of the first lesson inside Elevate so you can really get a taste of what it's like to be inside of one of my programs if you're not already. And you can also get a taste to see if Elevate is right for you.
We'll be back after a quick break.
This episode of the Ambitious Bookkeeper Podcast is sponsored by my brand new free training, The Ultimate Guide to Creating a Profitable Bookkeeping Business. In just 1 hour, you will learn 3 keys to creating and launching a profitable bookkeeping business. We will map out your path to creating a bookkeeping or accounting business that keeps you in control of your time, priorities, and expertise. From someone who built a 6-figure firm on part-time hours. That's right. You can stay in control of your time, keep family as your priority, and serve your clients well. It just takes a little strategy up front, and I'm going to help you with that during this free training. So head over to the show notes to sign up now for the next training and find out how you can choose the work you do, kick imposter syndrome to the curb, use tech to be super efficient, which all leads to a profitable business. Just head on over to ambitiousbookkeeper.com/training, and I will see you there. I'm just going to kind of go over how it's going to go. I mean, I sent a voice note. Hopefully everyone is in Voxer, also sending the same stuff in email. So hopefully everybody has the information that you guys need. Today, we're going to be going over analyzing financials. I would go around the room and have everyone introduce yourselves, but instead, I think I'm going to have you either just, if you haven't already done it in the Voxer chat, go ahead and do it there. If you guys have questions as I'm talking through the lessons, feel free to put a Q in the chat box and ask your question as you think of it. That way we have all the questions. And then when I pause to answer questions, they're all there and you don't have to remember like what you were trying to think of. So I'm going to do a short lesson and then I'm going to switch over to demoing. Raise of hands here or type in the chat me if you, or what software you use rather. Xero, QuickBooks, all of the above. Cool. All right. QBO. All right. So then the majority of everyone is in QBO. So I will be demoing things in QBO. If we have extra time, I'm happy to also demo things in Xero. That is my preferred software. The handouts that I give you are everything that can be done in one software can be done in another. There just might be small tweaks. So hopefully everyone is good with that. Yay. All right, cool. Becky said, I love both as I want to learn Zero, and you must know something we all don't. Well, I prefer Zero for lots of different reasons, but it works really well with the industry that I work with, mainly because my industry has large fluctuations in volume. And so with course creators, they have launches. So there's some months where they will have like 500 to 1,000 transactions if they had a big launch. And Zero enables us to kind of like mass code all of that at once. I know you can do some mass coding in QuickBooks. Zero knows how to play a lot nicer in the sandbox. Yeah. Yeah. So that's one of the reasons. The other big reason is that it integrates directly with Stripe and PayPal. So we don't have to use a third-party app to bring the Stripe transactions in. And that's the main payment processor for our industry. So I do have a podcast on all the reasons why we love Zero. So definitely search that up if you're interested in hearing about it. All right. Any questions before we get started? I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Feel free to unmute. Now's your chance. Otherwise, hold your peace for a while. Okay, let's get going. Today, obviously, like I said, we're going to talk about analyzing financials. So we're going to cover why it's important to be able to do this, and then get into the how, obviously, by showing you an example. And like I said, today I'm just going to be working with the demo company. And so there's always some things about the demo companies that maybe don't have all the same features that we normally use with clients. So I will do my best to fill in the gaps. And then that's why it's important for you guys to come along with, have a client file handy, have your QuickBooks logged in and kind of ready to follow along. That way, if you see something different than what I have on screen, or you need more clarification, you can just raise your hand, drop a question in the chat box and be like, hey, like I'm seeing this, like, how would you suggest I go about doing whatever? So that's why I wanted to teach in this format, to open the floor for, back and forth questions. So don't be afraid to ask any question, seriously. Okay. So yeah, let's get to it. So analyzing financials is, if you watch the masterclass, I said is like this, the first step of becoming an advisor. So in this lesson, we're going to take the first step toward providing those advisory services. And during this summer sprint together, the advisory services that we're going to be focusing on are mainly budgeting and forecasting, and just kind of having conversations with clients, helping them understand their numbers, pulling out important key performance indicators or KPIs and all that good stuff. But like in the masterclass and in the little worksheet that you have available to you in Kajabi, there's a whole bunch of other advisory type services that you can add to your arsenal. But for the purpose of this month, we're going to be focusing on the main ones that people care about: budgeting, forecasting, meeting with clients, that kind of stuff. So analyzing financials is going to increase your analytical skills. So if you came from a corporate environment, this might not be new to you, but you may find a new way of looking at things going through this with me, or get a little reassurance that you're doing things that you should be doing anyway, right? So that's step one. And the other reason is that it's a quality assurance review process. So as kind of in conjunction with reviewing financials for the clients, I always end up finding things that need corrections, or things that we could do a little bit differently in the way that we do the bookkeeping, or like things just come to my attention. And so it's a twofold thing. Like it's a quality assurance. You're making sure that your bookkeepers, if you have a team, are classifying things correctly, the balance sheet is clean, all that good stuff, so that when you deliver reports to your clients, they're accurate. So this lesson, like I said, it doubles as a resource for reviewing the work of the bookkeeper that you might hire in the future, or bookkeepers you might already have, or even just reviewing your own work. I find mistakes on my own work too. So sometimes we get a little click happy with the bank rules or whatever, and something slips through that shouldn't, right? So anyone here at the point in their business who has a bookkeeper and you're not quite comfortable reviewing their stuff, or you want to hire someone, but that's one of the areas that's kind of holding you back, of like, hands. Like, I don't know, like how to make sure they're doing their job. There's lots of ways that, we can make sure, but this is definitely one of them. also recommend using a workflow system that you can keep track of the status on things. So those two things in conjunction, you have to have a review process and you have to have a system to track people's progress. Yay, Abby, you just hired your first contractor. Yippee. That's so exciting. Chelsea is planning to hire at the end of this year or sooner if needed. Sasha has 13, so she has a very effective way to check their work. Sweet. And Lorene is ready to hire her second. Nisha is getting ready for her first two. Cool. So we have a great mix in here. I'm sure Chelsea has some great tips too for managing a larger team. So the third reason that analyzing financials is important is this gives you the material that you need to be able to meet with your clients. So you're going to use this review process also as a way to come up with questions to ask your clients and to help them get clarity on their numbers when you do start meeting with them, or if you're already start meeting with them, maybe you'll be able to layer in some other stuff. And this will show that you're actually looking at the numbers and interpreting them with the clients, which is part of the advisory function, right? Without this, you can't really be a financial storyteller, which, by the way, I do have a bonus for you guys that I'll unlock later today. Liz Barheit did a bonus workshop for us in my program called Financial Storytelling. So that's going to be a really great resource for you guys as well. But you have to be able to analyze the financials to be able to get to that point of telling the financial story to your clients. And like I said, you'll be making sure the books are in good shape. So next week, we'll be talking about how to prep for your client meetings, but there's going to be some overlap that happens this week because as you're reviewing your team's work or your own work, you will start to find things that pop out at you that you're like, I kind of probably should ask the client about this. So you want to have a process for kind of documenting that along as you go, like when you're reviewing the financials. So for example, you might just have a Google Doc. If you use something like Asana, I would suggest using the overview tab in Asana where there's like the project. If you set your clients up as their own project in Asana, there's an overview and you can do a status updates in that overview. And that's how we use that function. Whoever is reviewing the financials will drop some notes and things that they found in that status update. And if it needs to go back to the bookkeeper, they will get tagged and say, here's some things that need to be corrected. Or if someone else is meeting with the client, here's some things that we need to bring up to the client that popped out on the financial statements. So yeah, ClickUp, whatever system you use, it's kind of up to you, but be consistent and just have a way to document everything as you're reviewing stuff. Even if it's like a legal pad, just make sure you put it in the system where other people are going to be able to see it if you have a remote team. You could even use we also have Slack channels for each of our clients, but it's internal only. So we don't share the Slack with our clients, but we have a Slack channel assigned to each client so we can keep conversations about that client contained. So if that's the best place for you and your team to keep these type of notes, maybe that would work. Just throwing out ideas. You guys have to pick what works best for you. So yeah. All right, friend. I hope you enjoyed that little taste of the first week of Elevate. Like I said, that was from our summer sprint. We are running a fall sprint starting in October. So if that's something that you want to hop in on, please go to ambitiousbookkeeper.com/elevate. You can also direct message me on Instagram. I'm at Ambitious Bookkeeper, or LinkedIn. I'm Serena Shoup on LinkedIn. And I would love to just talk through the decision with you. I know it's kind of a big deal. It's an investment. And I want to make sure it's right for you. And I will be 100% honest if it's not. So feel free to reach out to me and I would love to work with you in some capacity, if not now, in the future. And I'll talk to you next week. Thank you to everyone who helps make this podcast possible. Content and interviews are produced by me, Serena Shoup. Our intro and outro music is written and performed by my brother, Ian Gilliam. Editing is also by Ian using his awesome sound engineering skills along with Descript software. Hosting and publishing is by Buzzsprout, and you can check out the show notes for links to all of these amazing resources and resources mentioned in the episode.
Be ambitious.